They are the driving force of life. The chemical cocktail that courses through the veins of every creature. Hormones are the rocket fuel of survival. They make wildlife its wildest. And every animal a Moody Beast. This episode, the mating game. Who wins? Who loses? Who cheats? Every creature plays by its own rules when it comes to sex. Welcome to Sea Lion Heaven. Here on Australia's southern breeding island, where the males keep their distance. For half the year, it can be all mums, all pups, part maternity ward, part preschool. Their pups are sure to have plenty of playmates, because the females are all in sync to give birth around now. But someone's about to crash their baby shower. He's not stopping by to say hi to his kids. That's the last thing on his mind. It's party time for him. His idea of foreplay? It's called birth. That's the male's cue, because in just 7 days, Mum's going to be up for mating again. She's a hormone machine. No sooner is she recovering and starting to lactate when estrogen fires up her ovaries. He can be 3 times her weight, 250 kilos of burning love. But then she just whets his appetite. There are other females up and down this beach, and he wants them to himself. The more, the better. He wants to be the beach master. Any day now, one of these females could give birth and then be up for grabs by any male. The females are emitting a potent attractant called pheromones. The air is so thick with sex, the male can almost taste it. So can other males. They're lining up to take the beach by storm. The beach master can't afford to drop his guard. That means no eating, no relaxing. He's got to stay on the watch for other males 24/7 for almost 6 months straight. Being a beach master is a job for super sea lion. And And when he's through beating back his rivals, his sweethearts aren't so easy on him either. Anyone in his path had better steer clear. Even the young pups. In the mating crush, 1 out of 10 pups gets killed. What turns a normal, mild-mannered sea lion into a raging sex machine? Nothing short of a wonder drug. Maybe the most potent on the planet. The Beachmaster is high on testosterone. Like any hormone, testosterone is generated by a gland. It travels through the bloodstream, binds to cells, and makes wildlife act wild. It's the all-time original anabolic steroid. The cells that testosterone targets are the ones that make males, males. As in bigger, more aggressive, sexier. In other words, it can bring out the worst in them. This dude, he smells terrible. And he's dripping urine down his legs. He could have what looks like green pus coming out of his penis. What better way to attract a mate? He's grumpy. He's old. He likes being alone. A regular dream date. But a single male elephant doesn't want anyone feeling sorry for him. He's got a lot going for him. Most of all, those big feet. They're able to detect low frequencies we can't hear rumbling through the ground. Today, he's picking up a sound that's got his heart all aflutter. It's coming from across the African plains, almost 100 kilometers away. The sweet nothings of a female in heat. She lives with the herd, a long way from the bull of her dreams. To spread the word, she sings her seismic love song. But then she's on the move. Drought is driving the herd in search of water. So the old male better stay in hot pursuit. He's gone from loner to Casanova. Long-distance romances, they never work out. But the herd finally makes a pit stop on the Pachyderm Highway. When your nose is a straw, no one minds if you dribble. An elephant can drink 190 liters of water per day. Though some may have a different priority. No matter how thirsty you are, snorkeling comes first. When the old male finally shows up, he's in for a surprise. It turns out he's not the only one who's heard the female's call of the wild. To win her heart, all 20 kilograms of her heart, he has to now take on his rival. Both males have a secret weapon. They may be pumped with 50 times more testosterone than usual. The old male wins the smackdown. Now, the romance begins.
Testosterone also makes him emit that same flood of chemical signals, pheromones,
Through a gland in his temple, in a steady drip of urine, in a green goo that gums up his penis. What a hunk.
His pheromones are calibrated to tell it to the world just how good his genes are.
The worse he smells, the older he is, the more desirable. Elephants have been around for more than 5 million years, and sex hormones, well, they've been around almost 100 times that long. They've made bodies bigger and badder with antlers, horns, tusks, and tempers. So, how long have males been fighting? Forever. Males will always be males. Will they ever grow up? Maybe the moose can set a better example. How does he attract a mate? The right cologne. Just a splash. The American Northwest spreads far and wide. So does a moose's chances of finding a mate around here. How is he supposed to advertise his sex appeal? What else? Cover himself in soil, caked with his urine. Love is in the air. Mr. Big Bull is suddenly irresistible.
His secret? The powerful aerosol of his pheromones.
For Madam Moose, it's a hormonal wake-up call.
His pheromones could trigger her egg production.
But they also trigger a stinky outcome. Big Bull's scent has made a slew of wannabes aware, and they're all eager for their chance at romance. It's time for testosterone to kick in. Big Bull is battle ready. His antlers weigh 35 kilos and pack a punch that can kill the loser. Or at least give him a serious headache. And that special someone? The news of Big Bull's victory sure is a turn-on. But it'll have to be a speed date. she's only fertile for a day. That could be her strategy for being sure she gets her choice mate. And doesn't risk giving that other wannabe any second chances. Winning a mate can take a fight to the finish. Between bodies designed to beat each other to a pulp. Between two of the strongest males on Earth. That is, two bugs. They may be small, but bugs still pack the same hormones, and that makes them just as feisty. Just one whiff of the tropical Australian air, and out of the woodwork they come. Male rhino beetles from far and wide. Their weapons? Horns and hormones. Their cue? A female's pheromones. Time for the great beetle battle. He can lift 850 times his own weight. More than almost any creature on the planet. That's the same as a 90-kilo man lifting the space shuttle. Usually, the male with the biggest horns wins out and gives the competition the heave-ho. The last beetle standing has earned his passport to paternity and passed on his genes, and makes the better mate. Beetle horns may not be your mate's idea of sexy. Maybe she's not hot for antlers. Or turned on by tusks. That's all up to her hormones. The drive to have sex can shape a species' body to the absolute extreme. That an instrument of sex could be almost 2 meters long would probably frighten most females. That it's a neck might come as little comfort. The answer, please. How do giraffes have sex? Before this stud can score a date, he has to answer an important question. Why is having such a long neck worth it? To eat only off the high trees, right? Maybe not. The low shrubs are actually just as tempting for him. Giraffes like to munch on them just as much. But meantime, his long neck is a big pain in the neck. It's got a lot of disadvantages. It weighs almost 300 kilos. To fuel his brain up there on top of that neck, his blood pressure has to be as much as 3 times ours. And his heart has to weigh over 10 kilos. So then, what is the advantage for him? According to one theory, the answer is sex, because this is how he and his rivals spar. They neck. The more aggression hormone the male's got, the stronger his neck, the better his chances of winning and reproducing. It's the migraine approach to mating. But wait, there's more sex to those necks. How do you know your date is an estrus? Use that neck buster. Bend down and get a whiff of her urine. Females are only available to mate 2 weeks out of the year. So he needs to get a bead on her pheromones fast. So fast, it'll make your head spin. Two long necks and a short date later. Giraffe Jr. Hormones decide how a body looks. They shape how a male behaves as well. When it comes to sex, every male has a dark secret. He's got no control over how he acts. It's all up to the hormones churning through his system. They can transform him from a lovable lizard into a monster. Maybe even a healer monster. This is a healer's idea of a good day. Nice guy. He consumes up to a third his weight in one sitting. And once he's done, he can last for months without eating. Call it healer binging. After a big meal, he has to somehow cope with a major metabolism spike and instead make his meal last. His tail, a third his length, shrinks while he slowly absorbs the fat he's got stored away in there. Because it could be that a hormone kills his appetite. Dieters aren't the only ones who should be studying it. So should pro wrestlers. On cue, healer males snap out of their stupor, and the reason they laid low comes out. Time for a showdown over who gets the dibs on the females. The match can last for hours. Headlocks and half Nelsons. World wrestling champions have got nothing on healers. Nothing shy of a hormone could do it. Change a lazy lizard into a fighting machine. Raw aggression is one way hormones max out a male. But they can also work their mating magic to fit the species. They could get him supercharged with stealth, with cunning, even good taste. Every eligible bachelor knows it. The key to a bachelorette's heart. Home decorating. Forget brute force. This male goes for the artsy approach. It starts with a consuming desire, with sheer lust and a bunch of sticks. For the satin bowerbird of Australia, testosterone brings out the homebody. He doesn't have to butt horns or bellow. Instead, he builds. He's building a lure. This is a chick magnet. But she's not falling for it. Not until he sweetens the pot. He knows that'll wow her. Her eyes are tuned to human-made objects and a choice stretch of the spectrum. Little surprise, it's the same color as him. Iridescent blue. The sight is intoxicating for the female, making her flush with arousal. But she's got a wandering eye, and the bower built next door has sure piqued her interest. The male knows just how to deal with that by trashing his rival's spread. He's not his normal, neighborly self. He's under the influence of testosterone. Now his bower is the best around. The female even brings a little housewarming gift. Clearly, he's got superstar genes. The bird makes the bower, but then the bower also makes the bird. Every animal is the product of his environment. How he mates is all about where he mates. Hormones have to adapt to the unique demands of an animal's world. In the sea, that takes some kinky hormones. One creature plays games with his gonads. Here are the rules. There's only one male who can act like a male. And you can't be a female unless you're a male first. Confused? Good thing you're not a clownfish. The coral reef is a treacherous place to live. There are perils around every corner, and there are plenty of corners. The lionfish is well named. He's on the prowl. But the clownfish, his life is no circus. He's in the arms of death. The tentacles of an anemone are barbed with venomous stingers. The clownfish is immune. So here, he's protected from attack. But there's a downside to living in this fortress. It's also a trap. There's not enough room here for too many offspring. In fact, The colony has to keep the partying down to one mating pair. Their solution? Meet Big Mama. There's only one female and only one breeding male. Having only one pair of breeders means they don't risk overpopulating their perch. Once the male fertilizes her clutch of eggs, he's the one who tends to them. The other 4 or so fish are all non-breeding, all smaller and all out of luck. But that's about to change. Whenever it feels like it, the anemone can close up shop. Too bad for anyone left out in the open. That lionfish has suddenly got a tempting catch. Big Mama. The colony is motherless, and worse, mateless. Unless they can find another female, or create one. But how? A mysterious mix of hormones to the rescue. Each fish comes equipped with the basic ingredients to make either ovaries or testicles. The breeding male knows what's going on, and his senses trigger his glands to stir up his sex hormones. Over the course of a few weeks, a he changes into a she. Breeding male becomes the next Big Mama. The clownfish is the all-time transgender original. Now the colony's new Big Mama needs herself a mate. From among the non-breeders, one steps up and bulks up to become larger than the rest. He's next in line to take his place as the next she. Another morphing male, another fleeting female. When the going gets rough, the clownfish transforms. Clownfish are the product of their strange, tight-knit world. Out in the open reef, everything's different. Male fish are usually the bigger ones. That way, they're better at fighting each other over who gets to mate. Hormones take their cues from what each animal's world demands. They're the chemical engine of adaptation, the switch that triggers the changes needed for survival, even if that means changing gender, male or female. Another creature of the sea leaves the choice to the elements. The loggerhead turtle. She can't predict the weather. But can the weather predict a turtle? The answer is yes. She spent her life cruising the open ocean. Migrating 12,000 kilometers, the sheer span of the Pacific. But to find a mate, the loggerhead knows just where to go. To the same waters where she was born. A gland in her head, sensitive to changes in light, may help point the way. She finally draws to her mating grounds. The loggerhead idea of a singles bar. The male grabs hold and hangs on for the ride. That's as hard as it gets for him. For her, the work's just begun. Now she returns to the very same beach where she was born. She's programmed to lay her eggs here. If traveling the Pacific seems like a long trip, these last 30 meters are a killer. She digs up to 5 nests a season and lays almost 16 kilos of eggs. Every kilo a heartbreaker. Where, when, and how is up to her. But there's an important decision that's out of her control. The sex of her kids depends on temperature. If the nest is 26 degrees Celsius or less, the hatchlings go male. 32 or more, they go female. In between, it's a mix of sexes. Temperature cues the amount of testosterone cooking in those shells. That goes for all marine turtles. Some years, one sex is favored over the other. That might help prevent inbreeding. Now the hatchlings make a mad dash for the sea, through an obstacle course of predators. Temperature, again, is key. The higher it is during incubation, the greater their stamina. Only 1 in 300 will make it to adulthood and breed. Whatever triggers an animal's hormones, whether it's the forecast or its glands, they're what give animals the stuff they need to survive, no matter the risk. When an animal is hungry, he's got to be up for facing danger. When he's threatened, he has to rise to any challenge. And when it comes to sex, that brings out the daredevil. To win over his chicken of choice, this bad boy, he's a thrill seeker. First step for the prairie chicken. Standard stuff for any species. He has to clear the other contenders from the dance floor. Next, he turns on the charm. A song. A little soft shoe. His mating display could last for hours. What keeps him going? The longer daylight hours cue a surge of testosterone in him and estrogen in her. Prairie chicken paradise. But for the male, asking for attention has its risks. Why would tempting fate like that be the way to go for a male prairie chicken? It could actually be a turn-on for the hen. His daredevilry could be a sure sign of his prowess. He must have good genes to survive such a high-stakes life. No risk, no reward. That's the male motto. And most females, the build-up to sex is a spectator sport. They watch from the sidelines. Unless they get caught up in the action. Males are not the only ones whose hormones put them in harm's way. Take this ferocious female. You've heard of tough love? This is koala love. There are 3 things Australia's koala likes to eat. Eucalyptus, eucalyptus, and more eucalyptus. It's a losing proposition. Eucalyptus doesn't provide much energy, but it sure takes a lot to digest. So the koala doesn't have much get up and go for any going and getting up. Not for most of the year. That changes come breeding time. At least it does for the male. He stakes out his territory by smearing his scent from a gland on his chest. His hormones trigger a not-so-subtle cologne of 40 or so different compounds. There is chemical stamp, telling the world his age and his status. The female, unimpressed. He serenades. Who needs a set of antlers or fancy dance moves when you can sing like a rock star? The more sex hormone he's stoked with, the deeper his bellow, the more impressive he seems. The female? Still playing hard to get. The harder he has to try. He beats off his rivals, proving his prowess. The female? What else is new? When all else fails, time to pull out the stops. The koala is a real Romeo. Or is he just oversexed? It takes his hormonal assault to trigger one in her. It could be that the female is so stingy with her energy, she won't even produce an egg, unless she has to. It's not until the act of sex that her luteinizing hormone kicks in, and finally release an egg for fertilizing. It's a great way to conserve energy for an animal with not much to spare. One would be Casanova, one won't be. Not if she can help it. Romance, koala style. Hard to one-up an animal who takes sex to the koala's extreme. But then the ultimate Moody Beast is the kamikaze of coitus. He's not even a year old, but he's already on death's door. A month ago, he was a virgin. Now he's having sex 14 hours a day. So frantically that his body is disintegrating. But he can't stop. The Australian bush is alive with insects to eat. Life sure looks good for a young Antechinus. He's busy stocking up on his most important contribution to the world: sperm. The Antechinus is not a mouse, but when it comes to sex, he's an animal. Mating season triggers a rush of testosterone. It's time to chase some tail. But he's not alone. Every male is competing for the same thing. Mating season for the Antechinus is like a sale before Christmas. Don't block the aisle. To win out, a male has to go into overdrive. He finds a mate, and another, and another. Sex could last up to 14 hours at a stretch. That's his best hope of making sure his sperm wins out. His body is exploding with hormones. But they're not all the happy ending kind. As his system rages with testosterone, it's also reacting to the stress hormone, cortisol. He is literally doing himself to death. After 2 weeks of non-stop glory, every male in the colony is falling apart. Literally. They're bleeding. They've stopped eating and sleeping. Their immune system is shot. They still want to have sex. The Antechinus goes out with a bang. The poison that did him in. They are the driving force of life. The chemical cocktail that courses through the veins of every creature. Hormones are the rocket fuel of survival. They make wildlife its wildest. and every animal a Moody Beast. This episode, they pit their kids against each other. They kill other parents' young to make way for their own. All to pull off the hardest job on the planet, parenthood. It's a balmy day of 60 below 0 Celsius. After fasting for weeks, Mother Penguin's finally got herself an egg. But instead of nurturing her chick-to-be, she is bolting. She's got a hot ticket out of here with all her gal pals on a road trip of over 100 kilometers. And finally, to the open ocean to replenish her fat reserve by stocking up on seafood. Her mate becomes the stay-at-home dad. His middle-aged spread is the perfect swaddling for a cold egg. For more than 2 brutal months, it's no food, no fun. But he toughs it out, thanks to a healthy dose of the world's greatest commitment drug, a hormone called prolactin, what makes penguins and us dote on our kids. Dad provides warmth. And once his chick is hatched, he can even do something not even the missus can do: produce milk through a gland in his esophagus. Another strange byproduct of prolactin. In fact, that's what gets Mum to finally come back home. All the time she's been living it up away, she's still been high on the same megadose of prolactin. And now, that's what makes her want visiting rights. Dad's also still pumped with prolactin. But he wants a break. His turn to get eating. Trading parents. It's chaos at the creche. In the confusion, Mum's chick goes missing. She's desperately searching for Junior. When a hormone overload kicks in. Can't find her own chick. She snatches up the first one she sees, while her system is still pumping with prolactin. But it won't be long before she snaps out of it, has second thoughts, and returns the chick she kidnapped. Penguin parents approach parenting like a relay, passing the baton between each other, with bouts of feeding in between. Prolactin is the glue that binds the family unit. That's the secret to parenting success. Hormones usher life through every stage, every challenge, including the ultimate, raising our young. They turn mild-mannered males into uber dads, and your average, everyday females into mega mums. Unless, of course, hormones send them spiraling to the dark side. She's a single mum. She's got her paws full with 5 hungry cubs and a full-time job. Predator by profession. How does she juggle work and motherhood? It's all in the hormones. Suckling sucks. A cheetah mum can run herself dry. She needs double the meat. She needs to hunt. So every morning she leaves her cubs all alone, despite how vulnerable they are. She punches in for her day job. Food shopping. To chase down prey, she has to be a lean machine. This is an animal built for speed. With a sprint of over 100 kilometers per hour, she's the fastest land mammal on Earth. But then it's fat a mother needs to make milk for her young. Cheetah mum is in a bind. She has to be fat enough to produce milk, but slim enough to be a champion sprinter. So she goes for broke. She has to compete with other working mums and hunt larger prey. The bigger the prey, the bigger the risk. Her cubs, meanwhile, could do with a babysitter. The wrong one shows up. The cheetah mother can't win. Hang at home with her kids, they don't get food. Leave them, they may become food. To protect her remaining little ones, she ferries them from one hiding spot to the next. On average, only 1 out of 10 survives their first 4 months. Through all the trauma of motherhood, what keeps Mummy Cheetah going? That chill pill of the animal kingdom. Prolactin. Suckling actually stimulates prolactin production in her. It may be flooding her system, brainwashing her to stay put. To survive parenthood, most mammals become prolactin junkies. The cubs won't leave Mum's side until they're at least 1.5 years. Not a moment too soon for this cheetah. That's the hardest thing about being a doting parent. Convincing your kids that they're not one anymore. Hormones change our behaviour. And when it comes to parenting, we could all use a little attitude adjustment. There are hormones to tell us to care. And hormones to tell us when our kids' time is up. But for some animals, those messages can get jumbled. Think you've got it bad as a parent. This mum's got 3 kids at once, always. And she's never sure which of them she'll end up keeping. The Australian outback is no place to raise kids. Food is scarce. Water's scarcer. What's a kangaroo to do? Crank up the hormones. Her body is designed for times of plenty and for hard times. Today, she's got a ready-made family tucked away. 3 kids, all in different stages of development. A Joey still suckling, a newborn on another teat, and an embryo on his way. She's making 2 different types of milk for them at the same time. She even has 3 vaginas to make room for all those options. But a few dry weeks later, there's less to go around. So she turns off the works. She puts the embryo on hold, pausing him in a state of suspended animation. All her energy has to go to her newborn and her Joey. They're the ones she picks to grow, to become 4,000 times the size of the Pinky Kid brother in the pouch. When Joey finally does get plenty enough to eat on his own, he stops suckling. That changes everything. Mum's teats work like switches, which cues the embryo to wake up again. And when the embryo grabs the newborn's teat, that triggers a hormonal reaction. Mum goes into heat. Within just hours of her embryo's emergence, she's ready to mate. Mum is a baby conveyor belt built to pump out up to 27 offspring in her lifetime. And Dad, after mating, he leaves a special plug in the female, which may block the sperm from rival males. Every teenager believes their parents are the world's weirdest. Joey just might have it right. When a parent is in the thrall of his or her hormones, they're no better than a moody adolescent, prone to fits and freakouts. If mums misbehave, dads can get downright ugly. Fathers are supposed to be their offspring's biggest fan, not their worst nightmare. Hormones change everything. Meet a traditional gelada family group. Loads of mums, one dad, and the kids. Mutual grooming, cuddles, and sunbaking. They're seemingly all smiles, but their lives are about to be shaken up. High in the mountains of Ethiopia live the geladas. Literally, herds of them. They even graze like cows. So why the big teeth? Because flashing those impressive canines is a great way to get someone's attention. This band of a dozen geladas are a breeding unit. And for the moment, this is the top male. For the most part, it's a harmonious bunch. But being the leader of the harem is a highly coveted position. And it doesn't pay to nod off on the job. Especially when the bachelors are eyeing off your female. The bachelors seize the moment and set off a coup d'etat. He's surrounded. After putting up a valiant effort, he admits defeat and retreats. Looks like Dad's teeth aren't what they were cut out for. He's out. For Mum, this changes everything. Suddenly, she's in a hormonal tailspin. She's actually pregnant, and the male who's now taking over is not going to like playing stepdad. He may kill her newborn after Mum spent 6 months of precious energy gestating it. Her body provides the answer with an incredible response. It happens to 80% of pregnant females in this situation. Just knowing a new male is on deck, her estrogen levels spike dramatically. She spontaneously aborts her fetus. No sooner does the new male move in than her estrogen levels drop back to normal. She's ready and waiting to mate again. She signals her approval with some mutual grooming. And harmony is restored again, until the next gelada coup d'etat. Hard to love a guy whose idea of fatherhood is straight out of a horror film. But then, Dad's got it rough. He's got to make sure his genes survive, that is, his kids, even if that means the other dad's kids don't. Sometimes that takes tough love. Sometimes love's the last thing on his mind. A lion is rightfully proud of his pride. But what happens when a stepfather steps in? One lion's pride becomes another's prey. Meet Father Lion, the cat with the cushiest job ever. He shares a harem of 6 females. They take care of his cubs. They hunt for him. He might have sex with them up to 100 times a day. The females are all for it, especially when having him around means protection. Trouble has turned up. A pair of young males are out there, just waiting for their chance to crash the party. The only thing holding them back is the old lion. He marks his turf and stays on his toes. His warning can be heard 5 kilometers away. But the females sense the worst. They round up their cubs and lead them to the safety of the brush. The old male's got good reason to worry about losing his mating rights. Lately, he's losing steam. Sure enough, within days, he's dead. After a lion's gone, what becomes of his pride? The females are on edge. They pull together, keeping an eye on each other's cubs. The pair of brothers have their eye on the same thing. When new males take over a pride, their first act is to kill the old male's cubs. The last thing they want to do is raise another lion's kids. The hormone that could trigger such aggressive behavior? Testosterone. A female will rarely take on a male, let alone 2. But this is war. Mum is desperate to shield her cubs. But it's no good. It's a fight Mum was bound to lose. Once the cubs are out of the way, her body will flood the air with pheromones to signal she's fertile again. The brothers may be able to smell she's in heat from great distances. The winners take all. The females in the pride become willing partners of the same males who killed their cubs. It's a high price a lion family has to pay for a male to have his pride. How can a species survive having dads who are cold-blooded killers? Some species can't survive without them. The more capable a male is of passing on his genes, the better his genes are likely to be. But that goes for females too. Mums are just as altogether capable of making sure reproduction happens the way they want it. For instance, dolphins. Some folks wonder if they're the most intelligent creatures on Earth. Here's proof. The females don't trust the males. Dolphins play. Dolphins smile. But this male has a dark side. A female in the pod just gave birth to the calf of another male. That means she won't mate with him for at least 3 years. And this causes his testosterone to surge. No more Mr. Nice Guy. The male will try to kill her calf. If he succeeds, she'll start a rapid hormone reset and become fertile again in just a few months. The others plow in to the calf's rescue and drive the male away. Parenthood is war. The weaponry is hormones. And yet, somehow, over time, every species has managed to strike an uneasy truce between demanding offspring, overbearing dads, and fearsome mothers as well. If hormones make males go dark, females can really snap. The goal of motherhood? Survive motherhood. It's a rare breed that's nurturing. Some mothers just don't get along with their daughters. Some hate them. And then there are meerkats. This meerkat family runs a tight ship. There are 30 to their mob, and everyone's got their job. The mob sentries on the watch for danger. Their hunters hunt away. Scorpions are finger food. The mob's females are on call to babysit. Imagine animals cooperating like this. Or are they? The truth is, no one's exactly volunteering. Everyone falls in under the iron grip of a ruthless dictator, Mum. Everyone else is her mummy slave. Because she's bullied her way to the top. She has to because she needs some serious help. Those pups? They're almost all hers. The other females take care of them. Her sisters and daughters? They aren't supposed to get pregnant. Luteinizing hormone is what prompts their internal egg production. But Mum has driven their levels down by instilling fear in her mummy slaves. Instead of producing eggs themselves, they're her daycare staff, training the next generation of sentries of hunters and mummy slaves. That way, Big Mama can preserve the energy she needs to get pregnant again and again. She just can't get enough kids. More to boss around. Motherhood, meerkat style, is a success story. The survival of any species is proof. Every mother is perfect thanks to her hormones. No matter how weird she may seem to us. The ultimate test of parenthood is not how well your offspring survive under your care. It's how well you've prepared them to survive without you. There are plenty of ways to convince your kid it is time to move out. But you may not want to try the koala's approach. She gives him a mouthful of reasons. Mother Koala has one goal. Get Junior off her back. But ever since he climbed out of her pouch, her hormones have been screaming at her to let him hang around just a little longer.
She needs to be persuaded to not jilt her Joey. That's why she's pumped with prolactin. More than triple the normal level. Nursing a baby koala is a metabolic marathon. Eucalyptus leaves barely supply the energy she needs to generate milk. She has a relatively low fat reserve to draw from, unlike many other mammals. All she can do is eat more and more. He's got the same plan. She's got to wean him somehow. But then the eucalyptus he has to start eating has another small drawback. It can be toxic. If she's ever going to turn Joey into a qualified koala, she's got to get him ready to digest those eucalyptus toxins. Mum's solution? Forget toilet training. Joey eats her poop. Mum's feces contains a hearty helping of delicious gut bacteria to help him get used to it. Koalas are the pride of Australia, from the waist up. They say you are what you eat. And your mother? Let's just say she's all hormones, all the time. The resources a mother has to draw from decides how she goes about raising her offspring. The more extreme conditions are, the crazier she gets. If she's got a hungry kid, she'll stop at nothing to get him fed. The pelican really sticks her neck out. In pelicans, by the thousands, environmental signals could trigger a hormonal alarm. They all leave their cozy perches along the coast on cue. What prompts them may be a blast of testosterone. That could supercharge fat production, allowing them to take on the mega migration. 1,600 kilometers inland to Lake Eyre in the Australian outback. The lowest point in the lowest continent on Earth. Perfect place for a pelican food fest. Put two pelicans together who are well fed and watch the sparks fly. Pelicans stay faithful to one mate, at least for one season. But now comes the hard part. There's a little pelican in each of those eggs, and as soon as they hatch, they're going to want to get fed too. There's not enough food to go around, so the pelicans hatch a hatchling plan. Mum lays one egg a couple of days early to give that chick extra time to grow. When he does hatch, he might be topped off with high test fuel. Testosterone, that is. The same monster hormone that got Mum here. Not enough food to go around. Mega Chick takes care of that. By killing his siblings. Mum, she just hangs back and lets it happen, since feeding one mouth is all she's up for anyhow. Pelican mums play favorites. She's raising a spoilt brat. But maybe she's one herself. If she ends up short on food, she'll just abandon her chick altogether. Having offspring makes a body go haywire. Or is it the hormones that are to blame? Would a mum under the influence give dad a dose and stand back? Parenthood demands the utmost of a species. To rise to the challenge, an animal has to break every rule. Take, for instance, the reptile with that monster bite. That ferocious appetite. That notorious temper. Could it be she's got the biggest heart of all? To be a newborn reptile. Your first glimpse of the world, you were expecting maybe mum or dad? Tough luck. Unless you're an alligator. They have a different sight greeting them. Hello, mother. Alligators and their crocodilian cousins are the only reptile parents who stick around to care for their young. How come? The answer began more than 100 days ago. Mum mated with Dad in this river. She built a nest along the banks of the river. She laid her eggs. She covered them with mulch to incubate them. Mother alligator is a homebody, unlike other reptiles. The benefit? Her hatchlings can't protect themselves. Try as they might, they need backup from Mum. She'll stick with her brood until they're at least a year old. Because she's under the spell of hormones. Her body has roughly double the dosage of a special steroid, one that pits her against predators by making her aggressive. An invasive Burmese python is enough to put Mum in a bad mood. The alligator is a living dinosaur, an evolutionary throwback to one of the world's most primal traits. Being a helicopter mum. When an animal reproduces, she literally reinvents herself. No wonder the hormones it takes make her defy expectations. Especially when she turns out to be a he. When it comes to raising the cassowary's young, there's no mum in sight. It's all up to the male. No wonder he's the world's grouchiest dad. Which came first, the cassowary or the egg? If she could talk, a cassowary mum would tell you. She comes first. She's got no patience for nests. Once the egg's in the picture, she's gone. The cassowary female wants nothing to do with raising chicks. And Dad? There goes 1.5 years of his life. He'll be officially chick-bound. For 49 days, he incubates that egg, without even eating. What makes him such a homebody is a hormonal 1-2 punch. Incubating that egg cues his testosterone to drop, and his prolactin, that peaks. And that's just for starters. When his chicks finally hatch, he's stuck with them for over a year and a half. That means feeding them after starving himself for weeks. Chaperoning them after being stuck on that nest forever. Disciplining them, bathing them, coddling and corralling them. This single dad's got good reason to be grumpy. The cassowary male is in hormone hell. His chicks won't leave him in peace until they're nearly his size, over 1.5 meters, and weighing almost 60 kilos, one of the biggest birds on Earth. Complete with an appetite that's sure to keep Dad scrambling. That helmet, it may come in handy bashing through the forest to make tracks. And make tracks the chicks do. Finally, leaving Dad to wonder, how did Mum ever talk me into that? The answer, with a healthy dosage of hormones. Some dads are addicted to the stuff. Parenthood can change an animal right down to his core. How far will a male go to give Mum a break? The ultimate father takes it to the limit. It's not enough to give Mum a night out now and then. Not enough to raise the kids himself. This dad gives birth. This male seahorse is looking for love. It's a lonely life, but he's not alone. There are 47 different species of seahorse. Almost 1/3 of them were discovered in the last 10 years. The same way they get their food, they get their mate. They wait for a passing stranger to drift by. One with that special something. It's the seahorse approach to a blind date. But it'll take days before they commit. That and an elaborate dance while they wait for their breeding cycles to sync up. Estrogen is the signature female hormone. His might spike during breeding to over triple the level. In most animals, the female is choosy about who she mates with. But for the seahorse, the roles are reversed. The male is the picky one, because he's got more invested in what's about to happen. She deposits up to 1,500 eggs on him. So this time, Dad is the one who gets pregnant. A month later, The seahorse is one of the only males in the world who gives birth. It's the only way he can be sure they're his kids. Baby seahorses have one problem. Who do they visit on Mother's Day? The goal of parenthood is more than just reproducing. Our young are our future. All parents want to make offspring that are the measure of themselves. Hormones are the means. The surprise is what some animals want their kids to become. What's testosterone do to a gal? It makes her mangy and mean. That is, the perfect hyena mum. They're not going anywhere. Female spotted hyena cubs of Africa. And the males don't leave until they're at least 2 years old. Older than most any other predator. They need to stay that long before they can hold their own. Because the hyena clan is tough on their young. The cubs have to fight for every meal. Or better yet, get mum to fight for them. Mum is so dominant, so aggressive, she can take on the big cats. To make Mum Mrs. Mean, she needs a powerful boost. A female could have 3 times the masculine hormones of a male. The result? Some very unfeminine side effects, and not just for Mum. The reason hyena cubs are so aggressive is they're born pumped with the stuff. In fact, when there's not enough food to go around, siblings will even kill each other. And Mum? She's stronger. She's larger than a male. She's even endowed with a pseudo-penis, a clitoris as long as 7 inches. It's shaped so she can have sex through it. She gives birth through it. What a way to start a new life. They are the driving force of life. The chemical cocktail that courses through the veins of every creature. Hormones are the rocket fuel of survival. They make wildlife its wildest. And every animal a Moody Beast. In this episode, growing up. It takes hard knocks and hard lessons. Surviving your own parents is tough enough. How do you take on a world full of everyone else's?
Australia's outback is no place for whips. Anybody born here better toughen up. And fast. There's usually 5 pups in each dingo litter, but there could be double that number. The dominant female will kill any pups that aren't her own. If they're lucky, they'll survive past day 1. That's just the start of their troubles. Every day, young dingoes must jockey for position. Fun and games. Not for long. It's up to Mum to keep all those mouths fed. But meat is scarce in the outback. But when dinner's served, it's every dingo for themselves. Six months later, the play fighting gets serious. In the thick of every scrap, a big question is getting settled. Who will be the top dog? Meal by meal, one pup pushes for dominance. Growing up dingo is tough. But they've got a specialized stress hormone they can draw on. Pups have 5 times more cortisol than adults to cope with being a teenager. It sustains them. Cortisol converts the fat stored in their body to energize a pup. By a year and a half, the alpha male is training to be the resident bully. He leads the charge on their first solo hunt. A monitor lizard should make a good appetizer. But they've already bitten off more than they can chew. Being independent means going in hard or going hungry. He and the gang are getting desperate. They'll take anything with meat on its bones. Or is that bones on its meat? An echidna meal comes complete with toothpicks. What's a dingo to do? Without Mum around, survival takes some tough lessons. The dominant male is taking charge, but also taking the best spoils. But for the underdogs, it's still a struggle. That cortisol is like a credit card borrowing against their dwindling energy supply. A dingo can't keep running up a tab forever. Cortisol drains a dog, winnowing out the weakest in the pack. Leaving the spoils to the strong. So they can survive. When times get tough, dingoes aren't big on brotherly love. But then it's the same for any animal. Growing up is hard. It's the ultimate test every day. As soon as a youngster is on his own, a world of challenges awaits him. He's got nothing but instinct, sheer guts, and the secret weapon that gives him a shot at survival: hormones. When Mum disappears, Mother Nature comes to the rescue. There are hormones designed to get a body through the worst, through hunger and fear, through competition, and through stress. There are 2 questions new life is least prepared for.
How did I get into this mess? And how do I get out of it? The answer is stress hormones. There's one way bears know how to avoid stress: by avoiding other bears. They're loners. So what happens when they have to get in each other's face? A grizzly is no social butterfly. He prefers his solitude. This is his man cave. A territory in Alaska that might be bigger than Luxembourg. Same for Little Bear. For years, she might only hang out with her mum and her siblings. But Little Bear is in for a rude awakening. She won't be solo for long. Late summer and fall, a feast explodes on the scene. Salmon surge upriver, from their home in the Pacific to the headwaters of Brooks River, where they were spawned. They come by the hundreds of thousands. Heading them off is a whole lot of appetite. The bears come out of the woodwork. Little Bear and all the grizzlies need to bulk up for the winter hibernation. They can gorge on 40 kilos a day. That's a lot of fish. Without the strength or the experience of their mum, the cubs have to share what she catches. And there's a lot of competition. Little Bear looks left, she looks right. All she sees is the same thing. The stretch of river has turned into Grizzly Central. For animals that are used to being alone, this is stressful. All the best positions are taken by the bears who are the most aggressive, with the dominant ones in prime position at the top of the falls. Little Bear is stuck downriver with the lowest quality fish, because the bruiser upriver is stoked with testosterone. If Little Bear doesn't bulk up on testosterone herself, she'll end up like a lot of bears here, loaded down with that hormone for losers, cortisol. It kicks in when a body needs a boost. Cortisol is a lifesaver. To make up for starvation and hard times, it taps into our secret stores of energy right when we need them most. But overdose, and it can be a killer. It can run riot on a bear's immune system and deplete her reserves. The grizzlies here who don't have high enough testosterone counts could be binging on cortisol instead. A fate Little Bear had better avoid. Being with others hard on a bear. But being a cortisol loser is even harder. Hormones send new life on a treacherous tightrope. They give a body a metabolic boost. They push a young animal to the extremes he needs to survive. But they can also drive him to the brink. They'll travel for months. Thousands will die along the way. Somebody must be thinking, you sure this is such a great plan? In Africa's Mara-Serengeti region, there are up to 500,000 wildebeest born every year. During peak periods, this can be as many as 14,000 a day. Before they reach their first birthday, 1 in 4 will die. The reason? It starts the moment a calf is born. Mum gives her a helping nudge. But she has to be on her feet in minutes, 7 on average. Otherwise, she'll be cat food. That would be like us learning to walk within half an hour of being born. It could be the single most stressful start to life in the world. From day one, a wildebeest is a worry machine. In fact, the whole herd is always on edge. For good reason. No sooner does the calf hit the ground running than they're all on the move. On an epic journey. What's the rush? It's May, the beginning of the dry season. 1.5 million wildebeest all get the same urge at the same time. Let's get where the grass is greener. The new calf is swept up in the Great Migration, forced to march up to 58 kilometers a day. There are no pit stops. She's not allowed to ask, "Are we there yet?" She faces disease, deprivation, predators, and the risk of becoming an orphan. What keeps her going? Every step is being guided by a quirk of her chemistry. Sure enough, a stress hormone, glucocorticoid, spikes when a wildebeest senses less grass and feels anxious. That provides the extra energy she needs to get her through tough times. Super tough. The worst comes at the bank of this river. The toll collectors on this route are hungry. But hunger also drives the herd on. That and their hormones. Think how powerful that jolt must be, since every fiber of their being is telling them this is dangerous. It's a gamble on the numbers game. To give a wildebeest the courage to cross, it will have to rely on its stress hormones. On the other bank of the river, they get their reward: survival. They say there's safety in numbers, but really, it's the hormones that push the wildebeest through their fear and exhaustion. They help drive the species to their feeding grounds. hormones give life its head start. And when an animal comes of age, hormones really kick in. What do you call them when puberty hits? Raging hormones. They create the monsters living in our midst. Terrible creatures whose sole purpose is to wreak havoc on the world. They're called teenagers. In this corner, weighing 40 kilos, a male red named Joey. In this corner, weighing, well, the same, another male red kangaroo, also named Joey. Fights on. There he is, grazing away in the Australian red centre. A quiet roo minding his own business. When suddenly... Hang on, hothead. Who does he think he is? His dad, of course. Note to self, don't get on Dad's bad side. But then it's not anger management that male red kangaroos need. It's boxing lessons. When he becomes an adult, he will have to brawl with other males for dominance. So while he's just a young roo, now's the time to get some practice swings in. Today's match, Joey versus Joey. Dukes up. A kangaroo smackdown is just that, all smacks. Less punch, more poke. Right hook, left fake, stab and jab. A whole lot of bluff and bluster. It's all about the skill, not the kill. These teenagers get into ritualized fighting and prep for the real thing. The middleweights take it up a notch. Kickboxing. Kangaroos have padded bellies to withstand the blows. And retractable scrotums. When a contender gets desperate, he kicks. The more he kicks, the more likely he's the loser. To get to be the kangaroo king takes a lot of brawn. But the real secret? It's all in the hormones. An adult winner might have as much as 7 times the testosterone as the loser. There is a trade-off. Since he's got so little fat, a hunk might have a harder time surviving during drought or famine. But it's worth it. The bigger his biceps, the more desirable he is to a female. What could be a better key to the success of a species? Raising teens who can kick other teens' butts. Rivals are primed for competition. Hormones turn them into powerhouses. But some animals rely on cooperation. Imagine the power hormones can harness in the many. The first thing they teach you at ant school is to get along with the next ant. But what happens when the next ant is a bad ant? A very bad ant in disguise. Meet the new generation of Polyergus, otherwise known as slave-maker ants. Like any typical teenager, they don't know how to keep a tidy colony, how to tend to their own larvae, even how to feed themselves. As ants go, they are completely dependent. They need other ants who'll do everything for them. They're rounding up slaves. That's about the only thing they're good at. Raiding the colony next door. The Formica ants. The ones with the black abdomens. Otherwise known as total suckers. Leading the raid. The queen slave-maker ant. How does she pull off an ant attack? Step 1, play dead. So the Formicas will drag her body to their inner sanctum. But once she's infiltrated their ranks, she springs to life and attacks their queen. Queen Formica gets bitten to death. And every one of those nips releases her secret elixir, her pheromones, her signature scent. Only she got to wear that perfume. Until now. Queen Slave-Maker is now Queen Formica. At least as far as her subjects can smell. They fall in, eager and willing to now serve her. And the brood of little slave makers she's about to produce. And the Formica's young. They're carted away by the invaders. The slave makers will soon get a whole colony of young Formicas to pander to their every whim in their nest, under the pheromone spell of the deceptive new queen. The motto of the slave maker ant? Anything to avoid work. There's no hormone to make an ant have a better attitude. Hormones just make animals better at surviving. Whatever it takes. Adaptation is all about exploiting opportunities. It's endlessly creative at recognizing niches that are unexploited. Just waiting for a species to fill it. A resourceful species. Hormones help target those openings and seize them. Being lazy as a slave maker is more than just a teenage trait. It's a strategy. A teenage echidna. She wrote the book on coasting. And on rebelling. Meet the anti-mammal. When an echidna is born, think of all the opportunities awaiting her. Someday, she could give birth to live young. Someday, she could feed them her milk. She could be a normal mammal. But no, she throws it all away. The echidna is a monotreme, the last living relatives of the first mammals. Having fur, being warm-blooded, that she gets.
But who decided it's okay to lay eggs? The echidna's ancestors blazed the way. They peeled away from the reptiles to pull off the likes of us. How? It's all in the hormones. The echidna grows up deep in the Australian forest. It gets hot and dry here, so she eats juicy termites to quench her thirst and practice her tongue tricks. She has to survive life in a perpetual sauna 1 month and a perpetual freezer the next. She has to take it slow. How? Her metabolism goes haywire. It runs the gamut. Her temperature can range from hours to 8 degrees Celsius lower. Pushing her limits like that takes a go-to gland, the thyroid. To set their metabolic rate, all mammals rely on their thyroid. Our evolutionary ancestors may have used the hormones it generates to step up from being cold-blooded reptiles. The missing links who first supercharged their thyroid could be the monotremes. The echidna could use some manners, sure, but then she's just a typical teen. Right down to the body piercings. She's been hijacked by her hormones. They're stoked for survival. Forces of nature. Helpless newborns no longer. Teens are turned into powerhouses by their hormones. But along the way, they can make them act pretty crazy. Blame it on their glands. Bad behaviour, big attitude. Or how about big appetite? This bird belly is a bottomless pit. Any chick is a natural-born eater. They'll keep mum on a hunting spree until who knows when. But the peregrine falcon makes other birds look like they're on a diet. Why? This chick will find out when it's her turn to hunt. When it comes to prey, it's slim pickings for a young peregrine. It's hard enough to spot a bird, let alone catch one. Add the cover of forest to the mix, and it's game over. The peregrine's best hope is a clearing. Time to unleash her secret weapon, the hunting dive. At over 300 kilometers per hour, she is the fastest animal on Earth. Any bird in the clear is easy prey. But speed is not the only weapon in her arsenal. She's also working those hormones. No sooner does she finish devouring her latest catch than she starts looking for her next one. For the peregrine, dinner is never over, because she's missing a major hormone that regulates appetite. It's called ghrelin. And for many animals, it generates the cue to signal they're full. But not for the peregrine. The reason? Her meals are so unreliable that she can't afford to drop the search. Ever. She can't always count on a flock in plain sight. The peregrine is all about eating.
all the time. For whoever's on her menu, that leaves a stark choice. Do I fight or do I flee? Survival can boil down to a split second. A panicked moment when it's all riding on one fateful decision. But animals don't always control the answer. It's all up to those hormones. That and how fast a body can run. Or maybe slither. One look at a snake, you've got to ask, fight or flight? But what if that question was first posed by a snake? Think all babies are cute? Think again. Australia's inland taipan is the most venomous snake on Earth. He's going to need every drop, even as he ventures out for the first time. Most kids taking their first stroll would not be so bold. But what's a deadly taipan got to worry about? How about a deadly king brown? It's over twice the length of the hatchling. Flight? No, the taipan picks fight. A lot of good that does him. The king brown is immune to the taipan's venom. Looks like the taipan made the wrong call. Being aggressive can be risky, even for a snake. Meet the remedy. Snake version 2.0. This American rattlesnake is the latest model. The snake that got a few evolutionary improvements right. Heat-sensitive pits on each side of her head for detecting warm-blooded prey. That nifty rattle to warn predators off before they try to strike. And most important, you guessed it, her hormones. Corticosterone is all about flight, not fight. That's what might blast through her system when she's confronted by a threat. Instead of attacking, she slithers away and takes stock. She doesn't risk taking on someone who could kill her. Snakes wrote the book on fear. How to instill it. How to feel it too. The decision to face down a threat or hightail it out of there. It's a choice carefully calibrated by our glands. An animal knows his ancestors must have got it right because they survived long enough to reproduce. For some species, the dial is set all the way to fight mode. Others have made flight a fine art. Take impalas, for instance. They could stand their ground. But then, let's give that a think. Big cat? Little critter. Run!
An impala teen has got everything going for her. Plenty of African greenery to graze. Plenty of young males practicing sparring for their big chance with her. And a dad who doesn't notice. He's too busy doing important things, like seeing off rivals. All in all, it doesn't take much to learn how to survive. But every now and then, growing up impala really sucks. One glitch is all it takes to ruin your day. Survival depends on the next 400 milliseconds. How does adrenaline work? It shunts every drop of energy to her limbs. It powers up every function that helps her escape. This is the ultimate secret to sheer survival. But panic can also cloud her judgment. The terrorized teen runs straight into another lion's path. Adrenaline gives prey an edge. But appetite can give predators the advantage. Fight or flight. Sometimes it's no choice at all. Some hormones kick in at life's darkest moments. They are our stopgap. The last hope we have for snatching us out of harm's way by tapping our secret stores of energy. Who would have guessed we have so much in common with a turtle? Like spending a day at the beach. Though she hasn't come here to sunbathe. Her idea of fun in the sun is surviving. 19 out of 20 of her offspring are about to become turtle burgers. What was Mum thinking? That's the question her kids will be asking soon enough. When they pop out of these eggs here in Costa Rica, it will sure seem obvious to them. She couldn't have picked a worse spot to lay them. Two months later, 100 olive Ridley turtles do something incredible. Somehow, they figured out how to hatch at the same time. If they hadn't, they'd never be able to dig out of their hole alone. And none would survive the deadly sprint across this beach they now face. There's safety in numbers. Now at least they stand a chance. As in 1 out of 20. That's how many will make it to adulthood instead of vulture poop. It's the kind of odds you'd wish on your worst enemy. For these guys, their best hope is, please pick on somebody else instead. What a way to start life. A mad dash right to a bird's stomach. Or worse, on the run from a character straight out of a cartoon.
Being a turtle hatchling is stressful. The few who do survive have one handy hormone to thank for it. Corticosterone draws on a hatchling's every drop of energy and channels it all into pulling off the most important swim sprint of her life. What a relief to make it to the finish line. The faster she can swim without stopping, the better her chances of survival. And just look who's rooting her on. Her new, friendly neighbours. Hormones make predators hungry. They give prey what they need to escape. They shape-shift bodies and decide how they should behave. When it comes to life, they're the boss. In fact, hormones are so powerful, they can even stop time. For one animal, that is. If you thought going through puberty was no fun, maybe you wish you were a butterfly. He starts out looking like something that came out of your nose. In over a week, he grows 2,000 times larger to be pinky-sized. Then he graduates to be a bigger glob of goo. What happens next is a wow and a half. The monarch butterfly is part of an order of insects that makes up 10% of all the animal species in the world. He has a special place. Not just because the monarch is so spectacular, but because of what he has to do now. The North American winter is fast approaching. It's going to be too cold for this guy. He has to make kilometers, almost 5,000 to reach warmer weather in Mexico. But if he continues to grow, he's going to weigh too much to spread his wings. This porker has to stay slim. But how? Stop time. Meet the original Peter Pan. The monarch butterfly refuses to grow up. Instead, he opts to suspend his juvenile development. Sex organs weigh a lot, a fifth of the butterfly. So he just delays their growth to keep those precious grams at a minimum. Pulling that off takes a chemical kick. Hormones to the rescue. Juvenile hormones. Monarch butterflies who migrate have 100 times less. And 2 months later, once the butterflies arrive, sure enough, in Mexico, time to reboot their booty. All those juvenile hormones under wraps for the long journey are finally unleashed. It's monarch party time. Was it worth the trip? And how? To get a butterfly sexed up, all it takes is a hormonal reset. That and almost 50 million years of evolution. It took that long to get it right. Nature's goal for each life is simple. Once you've grown up, just make another. After an animal's done that, they've usually outlived their purpose. But then, hormones are game changers. They'll take a creature who's one of the most feared on the planet. A cold-blooded killer. who's still learning from his old grandma. Grandma Orca is pushing 70. By wildlife standards, she's old and in the way. It's true for nearly every species on Earth. Once an animal has stopped reproducing, she's done for. But it's been 25 years since Granny's last calf. In fact, she's going through menopause. There are just 3 species in the world who do. And 2 of them are on either side of this screen. What makes them and us so unlucky? The answer is all about our grandkids. Wherever orcas occur in the world's oceans, they exploit different prey, and that demands different hunting skills. Techniques that need to be taught. Venomous stingrays are a New Zealand specialty. But a young orca doesn't know scratch about how to catch one. That's where Granny comes in. First comes the trick of finding one, then nabbing it without getting stung. Then the handoff. Turning stingrays into finger food takes finesse. Orcas need their elders. Every stingray in sight has the scars to prove it. The orcapod keeps Granny around to teach Junior the ropes. In fact, adult males who have their mothers around live longer. Her menopause is caused by hormones, the ones she's missing. Less estrogen. Menopause is the body's reaction. She may have served her purpose as a breeder, but as a teacher, she's got a lot to offer. Growing up, growing old, they go hand in hand for orcas. Ironically, the ultimate key to survival: hormones. The secret to every species' success is the very elixir of life. But then the same can be said for any animal. Countless times a day it happens, but every time it's nothing short of miraculous. Birth and parenting. We owe our lives to that elixir within. Hormones make life possible. Every animal is nothing more than a chemical concoction. One that's perfectly brewed over the ages. And each has a secret ingredient. It all comes down to the hormones.